Sue. Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I'm Morrow, your storyteller for today. With me I have some more RPG horror stories. What specifically TTRPG focused New Year's resolutions do you have for yourself? Mine is to run way more games. In the beginning of last year, I ran a lot of games, and then hell came during the latter of the year. So for me, I just want to run a lot more games and have fun with my friends. What are your TTRPG New Year's resolutions for this year? And while you let me know that in comment section below, I'm gonna get to the first RPG horror story for today. I feel totally invisible. I'm the DM in a group of 4 players. I'm the only guy in a group of girls. I don't know if that's relevant, but it just reinforces this feeling of being an outsider. I feel like I get taken for granted a lot. I write out a huge lore document for them at their request, and while I enjoy writing them, I never get any thanks or recognition, just a sense that they're eager for the next one and the one after that. They have multiple group chats discussing the game, but they refuse to have me in them for fear that I'll snoop and plan around them. Sometimes they'll plan something for a session that goes completely against what I have prepared, and I have to put in loads of work to refit the campaign so it's going in the direction they want. Wow, okay, that's cool. I mean, there's a lot of problems already here that I don't think even matter for the outsider. The fact that your players don't even want to have you in for conversations to talk about stuff. They don't reveal plans to you ahead of time until the session happens, so you have to scramble and change plans around. This is a very thoughtless way to treat your DM. Don't do that to your DM. Don't just make hidden plans that you don't let your DM know ahead of time, or this is what I want to do, DM. Don't turn it to a surprise, DM, I do this instead. That's not a good way to help with it. That doesn't benefit the DM or the game whatsoever. That only hurts the quality of the game, because DM suddenly needs to scramble everything together and just try to make it work for your plan, because they're trying to make you as a player happy. But they can't do that if you constantly just flip the script every session. And yeah, the whole point about feeling ungrateful for all the lore and stuff, or unappreciated for lore. Yeah, it's a lot of work sometimes to put in so much stuff into the game, and if players can't appreciate the amount of effort you're putting in, yeah, it doesn't feel great. I feel like you need to have a sit down with your players and figure out some things here, because I feel like something is wrong here. Even outside the game, I feel pretty ignored. I'll say something and get a blank stare or just get no answers. When I post on our server, I don't always get a response. Sometimes a few of them will hang out and I'll get no invites and just learn about it later. The worst offense was a little while ago, and mentioned to the whole group that I had some trauma surrounding depression and self-harm that I didn't want it mentioned around the table. Then, during a little online party I put together to celebrate our 30th anniversary, the druid made a fairly crass joke about self-harm and got anxious at me when I asked her not to make jokes like that again. I'm close to these guys and I've had good times with them, but the more we play D&D together, the more I feel like I am the DM and not one of their friends, if that makes sense. Any DMs feel like this before? I hate the fact that I have to even mention it, but I feel like your friends are treating you as an entertainment machine. You're not a friend to them at this point, or at least they don't sound like they're treating you as a friend if they're not inviting to hang out, and you're not part of the clique, you're not part of the social circle for them. You're more like a entertainment dispenser, basically. You're the DM that dispenses the game for them on every week basis, or however long guests play, or how often you play, and basically that's basically what you are. They don't share stuff with you because they don't see you as being part of the involvement for the DM, or maybe they have a player versus GM mentality that just don't talk about, and that's why they're acting in such a way where they don't let you in on any secrets for you to snoop. And let me tell you something, you need to have your DM snoop on things you have characters talk about. You need to have the DM hear their player. First of all, they're not like some entity that's difficult to communicate with or some enemy. They're another player, and it should be very welcome to have them be snooped, or have them be snooping on what is snooping. It doesn't make sense. DM needs to know what the hell you're planning to set up the campaign so that you can achieve the thing you're planning to do. If they don't know what you're planning to do, how are they supposed to prep for the campaign in the first place? You need to let the DM know your secrets so they can make cool moments appear for your player character. You don't keep it secret to be like, surprise DM. You're not playing DM versus player over here. You gotta play with your DM. You gotta cooperate with your DM. Have them be in on the plans. If you don't, then how are they supposed to set you up for cool moments in story and stuff? What are you doing? But I feel like with everything else you described, honestly, this might be a situation where they treat you as an entertainment dispenser, and you probably should have a talk with them and figure out who are you to them, and especially the weird behavior. How do they see you? Do they see as player versus DM? Are you the friend, or are you just the guy that provides them D&D and entertainment for every week or every other week or so, however long you play? You know what I mean? Are you a friend, or are you a D&D dispenser machine? Because if you're a D&D dispensing machine, you should leave them. them. You should find a different group that's gonna actually genuinely appreciate you. It's not gonna be worth it. Maybe they'll find people as friends or something. Actually, you know what? I'm actually questionable. If they ignore you or they treat you in such an awkward way or don't even listen to you when you say, hey, yeah, I have a trauma, please, like, you know, let's be sensitive about this specific topic. If they can't even listen to something like this and adhere to that, are they really friends? Are they really friends? Are they really your friends? Because I'm starting to think they aren't your friends. They just expect you to dispense D&D for them. I'll really have a sit down and talk to them, figure out who you are to them, and like, can we get the awkwardness out of the way? If it turns out that they think of you as just a D&D machine, however, leave them, find a different group that's actually going to appreciate the effort you're putting in. All right, next story. Player excluded himself. This is a play-by-post RPG with a homebrew role system. We have a player who essentially plays as Bard Diva, flamboyant, over-the-top, dramatic, always finds a moment to try to upstage everyone and take the spotlight. With permission of the GM, it ended up with a broken setup, which makes those acts unstoppable and easy for them to do. Due to the hobby, others are conflict-averse, so a minority exploit this by kicking off every time something goes their way. And GM caves in. This player is one of those. So somebody that wants to be in the spotlight, best as ever, and find any way to make situation about themselves, I'm guessing, right? I'm assuming that's what you're implying. To this story, it was one of those moments where the world was on the verge of war. It's a big build-up to a plotline where it's effectively a World War I scenario in Dungeons & Dragons, with many nations having been building two massive alliance blocks. Using this parallel in mind, there's currently a civil war going on in a nation, which is subject nation to one of the world's largest powers. This character, which we know as Big Bad, one of many, starts a parade to shore up support, an Archduke Ferdinand as it were. So imagine all the high risk and tension going on. To make it complicated, Archduke decides to send a message about going through an ethnic zone of the capital city, think Serbian district, and the major Serb, Russian nation, is a member of the opposing alliance faction, so Serbian analog with Russia as part of the Entente. My character, who is a Russian peacemaker, who is trying to use diplomacy to smooth tension and make sure there are safeguards in place for the Serbs. They are overseeing the area to make sure nothing bad happens due to the Archduke provoking the situation. This is where Bard Diva comes in. Diva is from the rival faction of Archduke, but unrelated power trying to provoke this world war decided, I am really strong and this is Big Bad. I'm going to go into the situation and kick their teeth in, anime fight style. Literally stating they wanted to anime fight them. Is that a new combat for D&D 5e? Anime fight? Never heard of it before. I wonder what the system is like. I get to do cool things while the BBG does nothing, and I get to be victorious and bestest ever. I'm assuming. I don't know what they mean by anime fight. What does anime fight mean? So comes to the scene, there's a big parade, and the area is on lockdown. The Archduke decides to go into a tavern, basically to demand loyalty and whatnot. Diva set up a scene where he is apparently protecting women and children from him, not sure why, they were not in danger, and acting suspicious. The Archduke questions what they're doing, then using the argument of protecting the kids, throws the Archduke through the window and starts a magic battle where he uses lethal force to attempt to kill him. Basically, he fabricated some nonsense excuse to try to assassinate the Big Bad for a cool moment. As you imagine, my character came to this scene. In a quick exchange where Diva goes, stand back, let me do what needs to be done, and Archduke calling out for help due to the assassination attempt. Given the scenario and the fact that my character is a peacemaker, they get the guard to arrest the assassin and call Diva out for, well, being a diva, and how they're endangering everyone's lives, and the cause of action will lead to the deaths of untold numbers, as this would spark a world war. This resulted in Diva throwing a tantrum out of character, accusing me of metagaming, and how would your character know it would be a world war, etc.? Isn't that the whole point of the setting? Like, you know, brink of world war? I thought it was made clear in the story. Unless that was not told by the DM already and nobody knew it was kind of being like a fantasy world war in D&D? I don't know. I have no idea. Confronting them with facts, they complain about it being so political and how they just wanted a cool anime fight. Then he started playing the victim that I was bullying them and attempting to drag in people, unrelated, threatening to leave the RP. GM had somewhat a backbone this time and corrected them on this occasion, saying I was in the right, but made gestures for me to remove my intervention to allow this anime fight to play out before it gets shut down. Diva neglected to engage, so DM just brought it to an end with an Archduke besting Diva. He then delegated to Diva and myself to wrap this up between ourselves. I don't know how play-by-post function? Like, is there like a turn order for play by post, or you just post and wait for somebody else to respond and you just keep it going and stuff? Like, it feels like it's so loosely structured. I don't know. I think it doesn't have enough structure for me. I think I would need more structure because otherwise my idiot brain will not be able to keep track of things. But I think it's a me issue. Maybe play by posts are just fine. Every single RPG horror story play by post seems to work out in a bit of a chaotic way. I'm sure there's some great ones out there. I think the lack of real-time structure and timing might be a bit of a problem. I don't know. I have no idea, honestly. Diva complained a lot, saying I should have helped them when it was against everything my character was about. They said about how the character the Archduke was a big guy, except this is not in-character knowledge. As you imagine, it was not a receptive conversation. Tried to arrange for a way for his character to go to be arrested, then deported back to his own nation as a political prisoner, or allow an ally of his who is part of Archduke's nation to bail him out some way. Giving him an out, the steadfast refused any and all suggestions, saying the Archduke is a sadist who would imprison and torture his character personally, turn Diva's character into a slave or toy like Greyjoy and Bolton from Game of Thrones. Ugh. They were very insistent on this outcome and that my characters are very evil for allowing this to happen. My character would not know this. I was sitting there thinking maybe there's some ploy to get on the inside, be it Spartacus or Kaladin from Stormlight Archive moment, so I was fine. If you really want that for Diva, go ahead and do it. I can't tell if Diva is just saying like they're implying this was gonna happen or they're just demanding this was gonna happen through like loosely thing, you know? Oh, don't turn me into a prisoner and a toy like the other characters from Game of Thrones. Don't do that to me. I would definitely dislike it much. I can't tell if that's this kind of tone or maybe they're just really upset. I honestly have no idea. With their nature of being a bit of confrontational, making it about themselves and stuff, it's honestly difficult to tell. It could be a fetish, it could be not a fetish. It's hard to tell, you know. Honestly, I have no idea. Anyway, I'm assuming it's not a fetish, but there could be a potentiality for it. Let's go ahead and continue. So Diva ends up imprisoned by the Archduke. The player out of character was trying to buy sympathy from other players, saying how horrible my character was for letting this happen, or boo-hoo, look at what it done to me. Posted a couple of memes. The other players simply didn't care. They knew that there would be no serious consequences. So, as the scene was coming to an end, they were being dragged off stage as a prisoner, and this is where it came. The player dropped the X card, then wrote that their character essentially flashbanged through the door and escaped with no consequences. They said they had no intent in any roleplay which involved slavery and torture for their character, even though they insisted on this route for them. And now Diva is meant to be the greatest ever, so they can never face such a humiliating defeat. Ah, I see. We're taking the Mary Sue route, literally saying, gotta be the greatest ever. Cool. Alright, well, incredible. Well, what amazing character story writing. There's nothing more obnoxious than a character that's supposed to be like, my character's the greatest ever with no flaws. Good job, you made a most boring character possible that can't ever connect or be relatable to anybody. Every character has flaws. Every one of my characters has flaws. You probably watching a video thinking like, my character has a bunch of flaws too. They're not the bestest ever. Nobody is the bestest ever. You can be really good at something, sure, that's completely fine. That's part of like stats, proficiencies, and the things you have for your character. But like at the end of the day, I don't even know why I'm wasting my breath on this, but I feel like it's important to know that characters that are bestest ever, you know, the Mary Sues, Gary Stews, and all that kind, they are not interesting to play because you're not making a character that has flaws or can deal with consequences. In this situation, Diva's just unhappy they did the thing that probably landed him in jail, trying to assassinate somebody that's like a world leader or like a country's leader or town leader or whatever it is, the Archduke, and they got themselves put in jail, and suddenly they're just using the X card to try to get the character out because the character's supposed to be the bestest ever and can't go through like prison roleplay or something, or can't be broken out and stuff. I don't know. This is a really weird way to approach it, but there's still more to this story, so maybe there's something interesting we can learn. I'm assuming not. My brain's already rotted, so I have no idea, y'all. I have no clue. This led to an out-of-character disagreement, where the GM decided to just stop myself from ever being in the same scene as Diva and the other players again, rather than addressing it in a meaningful manner. Diva went on a pity parade, saying how they're the victim and not feeling the roleplay to elicit sympathy from others, which no one really bought, and the GM failed to enforce any real consequences for their bad in-character and out-of-character behavior, and let it slide. That is the tale of the player who created a situation for themselves to X-card and abuse it to avoid any consequences for their character's actions. Honestly, I don't understand the appeal for it. I feel like with play by post, it kind of gives people, bad actors, a bit of that leeway and creativity to just concoct some sort of stupid way for their characters to be the bestest ever. I don't know. Maybe it's just I'm not into text roleplay. That's probably what it is. I'm probably just not into text roleplay. Either way, behavior of Diva is not okay, whether it be a text roleplay playable post or at an actual game. So I would really recommend just not associating with this character or this person in general. And in fact, I would even recommend maybe it's best just to find a different game, a different play by post, a different thing entirely. Take your character to a different game, rework them however they need to in order to appease the DM for the next game and stuff. Maybe rework parts of the character, make a brand new character. But either way, I don't think it's going to be worth dealing with sticking around with Diva and trying to really do anything with them. Honestly, I say just leave, find a different game. And with that, that's going to be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales tomorrow. Bye-bye.